Welcome to the Dr. Broadway Podcast, the musical theater history podcast where a couple of doctors sit around and talk about Broadway. I'm your co-host, Dr. Kristin Stultz Pressley, joined as always by Dr. Tracey Brent-Chessum. Tracey, today we're talking about one that you've been kind of living with here for the last couple of months.
Yeah, so today we talk about Legally Blonde, which is not a super recent musical, but it's coming up on its second or third round of touring, I think now. What year was it? What year did this particular show come out?
2007.
So this was 2007. It's actually very early movie musical.
That's right.
By most standards, and a really, really good one. It's the one that kind of convinced people that we could actually do this and this could work. I tell this story to a lot of people. After Mamma Mia came out, and I remember being just very, very much up on my moral high horse about jukebox musicals and how terrible they were. And then there were these movie musicals, and I just refused to see them. And I remember a professor in grad school goes, "Oh my goodness, stop with your moral high horse and go see this show. It is so good." And
it really is.
To my credit, I did. And I was like, oh, no, you're right. It's very good. This is one of the ones that, everything kind of comes together. But it does, it convinces, I think, a lot of historians, a lot of people that movie musicals can actually work.
It's like we talked about with Jersey Boys, how that was the jukebox musical that was like, okay, maybe they don't all suck.
Yeah, maybe they can work. But, you have to match the material to the right structure, the right, time period. Like, there's so many different. There's actually more to overcome when it comes to a movie musical or a jukebox musical to meet everybody's needs, and this one certainly does. So, we just closed Legally Blonde here at the University of Central Florida, and our season is a little different. We do most of our season on campus in our theater, but in the spring we do one big musical, and we take over the Dr. Phillips Center for about 2 weeks, which is our main Roadhouse.
In Orlando?
In Orlando.
Okay, cool.
So we take over the Roadhouse there, and all the music groups and all of the art, like basically all of the performing arts and all of the visual arts, kind of turn it into the UCF studio for a couple weeks, and we're able to kind of showcase everything that we do there. And Legally Blonde was our musical this year, so that went off without a hitch. Actually, we had the director of it on our podcast about 2 months ago, Michael Jablonski.
That's
was
right,
the
in our
director.
seminar series.
Yeah, and the reviews have been lovely and wonderful. I give everybody so much credit because this is all done by students. Yeah, there are people like us, but we are not we are supervising students doing this work, and so we're trying to make sure that they don't fail. Obviously, this was not a musical that we needed anybody to fail at, obviously, so you have a little bit of support that way, but on the most part, this is all student run, all student actors, all student stage managers and runners and designers and tech, and basically it shuts down our department for 2 weeks. So for 2 weeks I didn't have class.
Wow. But what an unbelievable experience for your students to play a Roadhouse.
Yeah, and it was, so they get to learn all of the ins and outs, and
that's really cool.
After the first night of the show, they realized that the Roadhouse didn't have enough, for lack of a better term, bandwidth to run our projections. So they had to go, the built-in system wasn't working for it. So they had to go and, rerun everything the next morning to get everything so that it would work. And, it's just stuff like that. They're getting this really big hands-on experience, which is fun. But
yeah, that's really cool.
Michael did a beautiful job, and kind of my favorite, the thing that everybody talks about, you can kind of Google UCF or the Dr. Phillips Center, Legally Blonde, and the big thing everybody's talking about is the robotic dogs that danced in the show. You know, the big thing about Legally Blonde, she's got that little puppy, right?
That's right.
And so
we had Bruiser.
So we have Bruiser, we had the puppies on stage, all of that. But if you know anything about UCF is Space U. Like, this is not a place that's like, oh, yes, we're known for our performing arts. We are known for sending people to space. We are known for being, like, you know, all about kind of supporting that industry. And it is a huge push on our campus. And because of that, the tech, trying to find a way for the performing arts to engage those other aspects of campus is something we try to do as much as possible.
Yeah, smart.
So they don't forget that we're here.
Right,
I think is part of it.
Yeah.
But we knew one of the things that they work on are these kind of AI robotic dogs. And so I don't know how Michael found out about them, but was like convinced them to let us have a couple of them and trained them to dance. So
oh my
he
word.
He had them. They were doing, I mean, it was pretty simple, but it was like they, you know, all these robotic dogs came out and they're all wearing a shirt that says Harvard on it. And then he had it all timed to the music and everything. And they stand up like this and do this. I mean, it was very simple, but like they just put a paw in the air at the right time.
I bet the crowd went wild.
I cannot tell you, these people were losing their minds.
I believe it.
At the robotic dogs. And I guess I came at the right performance because it all just went off about the hitch, you know, without a hitch. And, you know, I went to class the next week and I was like, oh my gosh, guys, the robotic dogs. And they all were like, those stupid things, they kept falling over and blah, 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 you know, like understanding the technical, like their perspective on it was hilarious. But the audience just loved it. Mm-hmm. So it was a fun show. And I didn't see one person in there having, like, thinking too hard. They had a great time.
Love that.
And that sometimes is exactly what everybody needs.
That is often
and everybody was wearing pink.
Which also makes everybody happier, right?
It is. I think it's a known thing. Just so you know, like if you're going to see Legally Blonde, it's in the rule book. You have to wear pink.
Wear pink, yes.
It's just everybody looks like they're in their, you know, stuff from their fraternities and sororities, and everybody was just having a great time. So.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, you're going to get your chance to see it on the road. There are not going to be robotic dogs.
Yeah, I don't think it will be near as fun.
That likely will not transfer. However, the show is about to be touring again. So stay tuned to a theater near you where you'll get to experience it. And be sure, as Tracey pointed out, to wear your pink when you go.
Yes.
But I want to talk about the development of this story, even more than the development of the show, which I will get into it in some way. But I want to talk about the parallel lives between a woman named Amanda Brown and the heroine of Legally Blonde, one Miss Elle Woods. So let's start off with Amanda Brown, who is an actual real-life human person who was born in Phoenix in 1970. And she's the fourth child, kind of a surprise fourth child. Her siblings were all a couple years older, and her parents were both very successful in their careers, were not expecting their fourth child. Her father was known for pioneering the practice of intellectual and property law in the U.S. He ran for the U.S. Congress. He was defeated, but nevertheless ran when Amanda was 2 years old. Her mother, Suzanne, had opened the very first contemporary art gallery in Scottsdale, Arizona, which you have to imagine she was a real pioneer, because now Scottsdale, Arizona is full of contemporary art galleries, right? Yeah. But it was her mother, Suzanne, who had started that craze in Arizona. So this is the world that she grows up in, and she is not only the fourth child, but she is doted upon, as you would expect a fourth child to be doted upon. Just a life of total privilege, right? She graduates from Arcadia High School in Phoenix, just as a point of interest. That's where Steven Spielberg attended for 3 years. Didn't graduate from there, but he did spend 3 years there. And then after college, Amanda takes off and goes to her dream school, as she called it. She enrolls in USC. Now, having grown up in South Carolina, I have to specify to my South Carolina listeners, I mean, the University of Southern California. I know that in South Carolina, when we say USC, that is not what we're talking about.
But
in the context
USC.
of this, that's right. It's Carolina. It's Carolina. In the context of this podcast, USC.
The first time I drove through South Carolina and drove past, it said USC, and I'm like, who are they kidding? What are you talking about? You can't use that acronym. That's not right.
I know. I have to clarify because in my brain it is. I have to retrain my brain. But she goes to USC, Southern Cal. It's her dream school. She's loving it. I mean, imagine the girl who inspires the character Elle Woods. She would fit right in at USC, right? Yeah. And indeed, Amanda Brown does fit right in at USC. But then guess what USC goes and does? They change their math requirement. And suddenly, and I kind of feel for her here.
I get you. The math requirement.
That's right. That's right.
Strains many a theater major.
Many. She decides, you know what? Maybe I don't want to be at USC anymore, and she takes her little self home and finishes at Arizona State, where presumably there is no such math requirement. After she graduates from Arizona State, she decides to go, not surprisingly, to law school. But it might surprise you to hear that the law school that she enrolls in is not Harvard, as we see in Legally Blonde. Rather, it's at Stanford in Northern California.
Nothing to sneeze at.
Nothing to sneeze at. So I'm sure, I don't know this, but I would imagine that her father probably was able to give her a lot of help in that regard. But she certainly had to have the grades to get in herself. Math notwithstanding. And P.S. again, Amanda, no judgment. I don't want people looking at my math grades either. So she decides that being a lawyer is a really good way to help abused women and children. And this becomes a really important thing for her. And so Amanda and her mom, Suzanne, and her little Bichon named Underdog. It's not... Her dog is not named Bruiser. It is named Underdog, and dear. It is a Bichon Frise. So that's a little white dog.
Fluffy little thing.
Yeah, a little fluffy white ball. Underdog, not the Chihuahua Bruiser or the robot Bruiser, as the case may be. She and her mom and her Bichon Underdog drive to campus at Stanford. And as soon as she gets to campus, Amanda Brown in her kitten heels with her pink paper and her fluffy, puffy topped pens is a total misfit. And she can feel it. She knows this is not her people. She described her classmates in an interview as ranging from Star Trek fans to those who don't shower.
Okay, I'm offended.
Are you a Star Trek fan? Because I'm assuming you shower.
I do shower. I am on video right now.
That's right. That's right.
But still.
Yeah. She wasn't having it. She wasn't having it. She's not there for that.
Star Trek is very smart, y'all.
She's not there for that. Speaking of, did you ever see the documentary Trekkies?
No.
Okay, you've got to find it. You've got to find it. It came out. I saw it after Waiting for Guffman. And it was because, well, Waiting for Guffman is a mockumentary.
Yes.
Right? And so I thought Trekkies was going to be the same. But no. It's a very serious documentary about Star Trek fans. And you gotta see it.
Okay,
you gotta see it.
So then I'm not super offended. Maybe I would just ask her to be clearer about which Star Trek fans she's talking about.
That's fair. Like I don't think she's talking pedestrian. Oh, I watched it at my grandmother's when I was sick and home from school. I don't think she's talking about those people. I think she's talking about the people who wear their Starfleet
uniforms and things like that.
Right. Those kinds.
I did have as a youth. I will admit, but. But I was not the Star Trek. I still have never been to a convention.
Well, if you watch Trekkies, you may change your mind and decide to go to one.
I loved it. Oh, I thought that show was awesome. Wow. I was even into Deep Space Nine. I watched it religiously.
The sequels.
Yes, all of the sequels. Good stuff.
Yeah. Well, Amanda Brown wanted nothing to do with it or its fans. So she immediately did not fit in. And so what she would do, because she had no friends to hang out with, is she would spend her time reading Elle magazine. That's L-E-L-L-E. Yeah. Isn't that the French word for beauty, I think? Or maybe the French word for she. I think it's the French word for she. I don't remember. I don't speak French, as we've talked about ad nauseum on this podcast.
Caroline's going to yell at us. That's what's going to happen.
It's one or the other.
She's going to be like, Tracey, why?
Well, I bet it's she because Mademoiselle.
Yeah.
Yeah. I bet it's she.
Yeah.
But it was a beauty magazine. So that's probably why I thought beauty. I remember Elle. I looked at Elle. I wasn't a big reader of it, but I certainly remember it. I don't think so. I'm not sure how many magazines are still around.
Well, I guess you're right. Okay. You're right.
But this one I don't imagine is. Regardless, she spent time reading Elle magazine, and in her boredom, she started writing letters to her friend Serena. And she writes in these letters.
At Stanford.
What's that?
She's bored at Stanford.
Yeah, she's bored at Stanford.
Oh my.
She has she has no friends. So all those, she fit in so well at USC. All the cool
people were out there watching all the new Star Trek movies. She just apparently just needed to get with the program.
That's right.
No sympathy.
That's right. That's right. It's her. I know. Maybe she was the problem.
This was the heyday of the good Star Trek. Yeah. She's the problem here, I tell you.
Well, she's writing letters, reading Elle magazine and writing letters to her friend Serena about how much she doesn't fit in. And then I guess Serena shared some of these letters with other people back home. And so then she starts writing these letters and overnighting them to a group of friends who are reading them, like waiting on them with bated breath. Like the next installment comes in from FedEx and they can't wait to pour through it.
Okay,
and she called these. Yeah. Yes.
She overnighted her letters. Because we don't have email yet.
That's right. And we don't even have fax. We did have fax. This would have been like 92.
About how expensive overnighting is.
I know. But when your daddy is the, spearhead of intellectual and property law in the United States.
Yes.
It's not a big deal.
Yes. Okay. I was like, wait a minute.
I don't imagine she was footing the bill.
When you said that, my brain went, oh my gosh, that's expensive.
Yes. She might have even had like the account number of her dad's firm or something. And just, you remember back in those days, you would have to fill out those like tissue papers in triplicate. And so she probably just had a stack from her dad's office.
So she's like, here we go.
Yeah, and just...
Do you love that we're, now accusing this poor woman of stealing from her dad's office?
Well, she probably had his permission.
Yeah.
She probably had his blessing on that. But regardless, somehow she's overnighting them to a group of friends who are reading them, waiting on them with bated breath. And she calls them very cleverly 1L, E-L-L-E. Obviously, because she's reading, there's a lot of double entendre here. Mm-hmm. She's reading Elle magazine, but also that's how you refer to your years in law school. Your 1L, 2L, 3L, right? Mm-hmm. That's your 3 years of law school. And she's also riffing on the title of Scott Turow's book 1L, which is one and then the letter L, which was the story of his first year at Harvard Law. Mm-hmm. Scott Turow, of course, was very, very famous pre-John Grisham for writing legal thrillers like Presumed Innocent, which came out in 1987 and sells 30 million copies. So Scott Turow
used to read.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Scott Turow was John Grisham before there was John Grisham. Yeah. But he was definitely at that level, just churning out these books that you would see all over airports and, the beach, and people were reading these in droves. So she writes 1L. She sends them home to her friends. And then in the summer, between her 1L, what would be her 1L and 2L years, she comes home to Arizona. She clerks, but she hates it. And she quits her clerk job almost as soon as she starts it. And she realizes that law is not for her. But what she also realizes is that she loves writing these 1L, letters that she sends. So she goes back to Stanford. Imagine going back to Stanford.
To put yourself through more.
I know.
So
and
that
just
you have
for the material.
I just
that's what she does
here.
Yeah, that's what she does. She goes back so she can write 2L. And again, that's not 2 letter L, it's 2 E-L-L-E. Yeah. And I keep harping on that because it'll be important. If you don't know the show, that's right. It's going to be important. Mm-hmm. So very soon after she gets back for her second year, she meets a guy named Justin Chang, and they decide to get married. So now
in the program, was he one of those Star Trek people?
I don't know. I cannot speak to his fandom or not of Star Trek. I'm assuming he showers, but I can't say for sure.
Yeah.
All I know is that he's listed as an investor. So he may have been studying something else at Stanford. Okay. He may have been in the law program. I don't know. But regardless, they meet, decide to get married. So she swaps, Elle magazine for Bride magazine, which was a big thing back then. Before Pinterest, we had bridal magazines, right? Mm-hmm. And they would be about 3 inches thick, huge. Some of them. They were huge. And so she's walking around with these bride magazines. And one day, as she's leaving class, she literally runs into one of the Trekkies. Sorry, Tracy.
What? Why? Okay.
No offense. And all of Amanda's stuff goes all over the ground, including a drawing of a Vera Wang wedding gown. Now, in this day and age, Vera Wang wedding gown was the height of sophistication. Mm-hmm. That's how you knew you were dealing with someone who was walking in high cotton, is because they had a Vera Wang wedding gown. And when she spills all of her stuff all over the floor, and her Trekkie classmate sees this drawing of this Vera Wang wedding gown, she says, "Why don't you just quit and go plan your wedding?" And later that day, Brown drops out of Stanford. She's like, this is hell on earth. So she drops out of Stanford. She goes home to Phoenix, and she sets out to turn those 1L essays into a memoir, just like Scott Turow had done with his 1 letter L about his first year at Harvard Law. Amanda Brown thinks she's going to write 1L-E-L-L-E as her memoir about her year at Stanford Law School. And she gets in touch with a literary agent. And the agent says, "No, I wouldn't do it that way. I would write it as a novel." Mm-hmm. And I'm sure she had many reasons for that, but one of the most glaring would be to give herself some distance from the character, right? Yeah. So it gave her some license to kind of take creative liberties and not write exactly about her experience.
Especially and so Brown, her experience ends with quitting, married.
Yeah,
quitting.
Yeah.
Because that is then fodder for the Trekkies. Notice she's saying Trekkies and not Trekkers. For those of you that know that.
Well, that's covered in the documentary Trekkies. The difference between the two, Trekkies and Trekkers.
Anyway, go ahead.
So at any rate, Brown takes the advice. She enrolls in a creative writing class at a community college, and she comes up with a manuscript. She submits the manuscript on pink paper, which seems very familiar if you know the Legally Blonde film at all. And no one is interested. There are no publishers who have any interest in this story at all, which is, not surprising. Given the time, right? This would have been the late 90s.
I thought young adult fiction was really starting to take off then, though.
Because but they may not have
early in the Harry Potter craze and the.
That's true. That's true.
But I guess it isn't really young adult.
Yeah, I was about to say I don't know that it would have been targeted. Between. Yeah, it is. It is in that gray area between. But even though book publishers don't want anything to do with this manuscript, movie studios are super interested. And in fact, before she has the book deal done, she's got a film deal with MGM, more specifically, Mark Platt Productions. Where have we heard that before? Well, numero uno, he's Ben Platt's dad. But number 2, if you've been following this podcast, you've heard us talk about him, particularly in the Wicked episode, but also in the Death Becomes Her episode. He produced both of those shows on Broadway. Yeah. And in July of 2001, or actually, stepping back from that, a year or two to make room for development, he produces for MGM the Legally Blonde film. Now, of course, that movie stars as Elle Woods, the character based on Amanda Brown's life, and her 1L-E-L-L-E essays. Elle Woods is played by Reese Witherspoon. The movie comes out in July of 2001, and immediately within the first 10 days, it's made $40 million, which is the equivalent of $74 million. I mean, that's a massive opening weekend, particularly given Reese Witherspoon was certainly known as an actress, but it's this movie that really launches her to the stratosphere. Yeah. This was the biggie. She'd done a lot of work before this, but nothing that made everybody sit up and take notice. So it's not like she was drawing people in just on the power of her name at this moment. Yeah. So it ends up making $150 million worldwide. That's the equivalent of about almost $300 million. So it's enormously popular. We all know the rest of that story.
Isn't there like a Legally Blonde 2? And
there is, and there might even be a 3. I never saw 3, and I don't remember 2, though I know I saw it, but I definitely knew and loved 1, the first one.
Yeah.
So the book is finally, after the film comes out, the book is published later that same year in 2001. And, it is such an afterthought. I've never read the book. I don't know that I've ever even seen the book. I've not encountered, I'm sure it's available if you look somewhere, but definitely the movie eclipsed. Not that Amanda Brown cares, right? I'm sure she's completely fine with the movie that's based on her stories that made $300 million worldwide, the equivalent of that. That'll do, right? That'll set you up real nice. Yep. So a producer named Hal Luftig from the very beginning knows this is a musical. Now, like Tracey said, this is really early. It premieres on Broadway in 2007. It wasn't the first, we would never say the first film adaptation, but it is an early one, right? It's an early one. It's right at the fore of this trend of, taking films and turning them into musicals. And Hal Luftig, who is a producer on Broadway, immediately knows this would be a great one. Now, just to give some background on him, he's produced throughout the 90s musicals like The Secret Garden and Jelly's Last Jam. He produced Angels in America and its sequel on Broadway, not a musical, but nevertheless very, very famous and impactful play. The King and I revival of 96, I believe that starred Donna Murphy.
Yeah.
Annie Get Your Gun, the 99 revival.
That's
Seussical. Bernadette Peters. That's right. Yeah. Bernadette Peters. Thoroughly Modern Millie and Moving Out.
Yeah.
So this guy's working a lot and working on big time shows. And he options
have nothing to do with Disney.
No, nothing to do with Disney.
Just be known something other than Disney was on Broadway in the 90s.
In the 90s. Fair. Very
Mostly
fair.
Hal.
Yes, exactly. A lot of which was brought there by our friend Hal Luftig. So he options the film and he wants to attach a big name director to it. Of course, at this time, that would have been, think Jerry Zaks or Susan Stroman, that sort of thing.
Can I put none of them are available for just a second?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Notice how options the movie rights to make it into a musical, and it's a Mark Platt
movie,
like IP, right?
Yeah.
This is 4 years after Wicked goes to Broadway, and so this wasn't something that Platt thought was going to be a musical.
Oh, that's a great point. He was already dabbling in musicals, right?
Yeah, I mean,
is your point? Well, and he didn't hang on to this one. That's a great point.
Because Wicked goes up in 2003.
That's right.
And it's, running. I mean, this is 2007 when it finally gets up and running. What is it, 2001?
The film is 2001. The musical is 2007.
So somewhere in the midst of him putting up Wicked, he either doesn't know just how big Wicked is going to be, or he's just, it's not on his radar at all, which is interesting that somebody else goes and picks it up from him.
That's a great point. So Luftig wants a big name director. None of them are available or interested. Maybe they're like Tracey and I were at this moment in time where we're like, I don't think we want to be doing this with the film adaptation thing. So I'm going to wait for something more serious to direct. But that's when he crosses path with Jerry Mitchell. And Jerry Mitchell's name has come up so much on this podcast. He directed things like Kinky Boots on Broadway and has done so much work, but he starts off as a dancer. He trained with choreographers like Jerome Robbins and Michael Bennett. Michael Bennett, of course, the mastermind behind A Chorus Line. He'd choreographed shows like The Full Monty and the original production of Hairspray and the 2004 revival of La Cage aux Folles. And he'd never directed, but he wanted to. Mm-hmm. And so Luftig, thinks, well, maybe this is the guy, but MGM doesn't want to let him because they too want a big name director because they want to be sure that this isn't going to fail, right? This could be a colossal failure and they don't want egg all over their face.
So Mark Platt does option to Hal Luftig, but doesn't give up creative control. Notice that.
Yeah, there you go.
So they're like,
yeah, like, there you go.
If this could, so they know enough to be careful and to keep some creative control there. Interesting that they're still kind of weighing in.
Yeah,
that doesn't always happen. That's like written into the contract. Usually it's an option and it's fine unless they're worried about what they're going to do, and then they keep some creative control back.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is they wanted a proven director. I can only assume they wanted a proven creative team, but they didn't every single
that either. Like, have these guys done anything else?
Nothing else. Nell Benjamin, who co-wrote the music and lyrics with her husband Lawrence O'Keefe. This was her Broadway debut. The next thing that she writes for Broadway is Mean Girls, which isn't until 2018.
Yeah. But Mean Girls, she writes the lyrics for, right? And then Tina Fey's husband writes the music.
Jeff Richmond, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And then the librettist, Heather, I'm not sure if it's Heather Hutch, it's H-A-C-H. She writes the libretto, and that's her only Broadway credit.
And this is the only thing they do. Like, it is so baffling to me.
It's very, very, very strange.
And, but
they have an entirely novice creative team.
Yeah, and again, we said this a couple weeks ago when we did, oh gosh, I don't know if we talked about Mean Girls or so. Did we talk about Mean Girls? I don't think so.
We have.
Anyway, maybe. But when we talked about the fact that like making it into a movie musical, like these songs, like they're having to do so much more work that you don't get the normal. Here is my I Want song. Here is my 11 o'clock number.
Yes.
Even so maybe it's interesting because we were talking about this with Mean Girls too. It's just like there's so much material. Like these songs are 7 minutes long. Yeah, that's just what I remember Michael saying to me. I was like, "How are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm so exhausted. Every song is 7 minutes long, and I have to choreograph that. And there's like 15 scenes in each 7 minute." And I mean, brutal. It's so brutal and it's so much, but you don't get the iconic singable stuff
right
with these musicals because they're having to do so much work. So maybe you get like an I Want section of the second 7 minute number. Mm-hmm. You get maybe a section in there, like in Legally Blonde, it's love. I'm doing this for love, over and over and over. We get that, and that motif comes back.
Yes.
But it's interesting. You've got people who are not musical theater creators. These are people who are trying to musicalize a movie,
right?
And as such, are not going to hit the standard kind of musical structure along the way, and that's why sometimes it works. I mean. Legally Blonde is pretty hummable, but you don't walk away singing that one song.
No,
maybe
not at
Legally Blonde is an actual song in the show, and that's about the only one that stands by itself. Yeah. Everything else is a huge production number. Like, it goes on forever. And the same thing happens in Mean Girls, which is yet another reason why Mean Girls, people are like,
Yeah.
They're doing a lot of work there, but you kind of need somebody to reimagine it, because I would not know how to take some of these movies and how complicated they are and make them into something that has like an actual like musical theater structure.
Right. Without getting fit.
Yeah, because you'd have to get rid of most of the material in the movie.
Yep.
You'd have to kind of shrink it down again. It's just very interesting.
Yeah, it is. It is. So in this entirely new novice creative team, has their show ready to premiere at the Golden Gate Theater in San Francisco. Then it opens on Broadway.
Same place that Wicked.
And that's a great point. I didn't think about that, but also it's where Stanford is. So
yes.
Cool. But it opens on Broadway in April of 2007. Ben Brantley of the New York Times says it's a hymn to the glories of girlishness. I love that.
That is an interesting point because that can be read several ways.
Yes, it can.
Was it an overly positive or just kind of I don't know?
I would call it warm.
Okay,
kind of.
That's big for Brantley.
Yeah.
It did have all the right.
Oh, go ahead.
Have lots of right people in it. Like
it had
Laura
Kristin
Bell Bundy
and Laura Bell Bundy and Orpha.
Yes,
those would be the three,
and then
most recognizable.
What is Emmett's? Who played Emmett?
Christian Borle.
Christian Borle, and people that still huge part of the industry today.
Yeah,
but lots
absolutely.
of them. And this isn't Christian Borle's first thing. I think it's Laura Bell Bundy's first major.
It is. I believe it is. Yes, she'd done film and television, and but I think this was a Broadway debut for her. Though I would not swear to it. She might have been in a chorus on something that I'm forgetting about. But she hits Broadway, and it's is a big deal. The show is nominated for 7 Tonys. It wins none, but there is something really interesting about this that sets it apart, and that's the fact that a live recording of the show was broadcast on MTV in October of 2007.
Yep.
That's a really big deal.
That is.
Right? Because it's a whole new, I don't even think MTV is a thing anymore, but
it is. It's gone. Did you know
so
that?
sad.
They shut it down the other day.
I thought I'd heard that. It's really sad. Although I think it was a shell of what it was when we were kids.
Not what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. But it introduces a musical to a new generation, and it's a different.
After that, we start getting TV musicals.
Right.
Some of them good. Some of them.
Oh my gosh! Right.
Hard to watch.
Right. But if we talk about how Hamilton, introduced the Broadway musical to a whole new audience because by way of its use of hip hop, right? Yeah. Legally Blonde is introducing the musical to a lot of new audience members because it's being aired on MTV, which would certainly not be your typical Broadway audience. And even after that airs, there's a show called Legally Blonde, the musical, The Search for Elle Woods, which was a reality show attempting to find the replacement for when Laura Bell Bundy left the show. Mm-hmm. Interestingly, a girl from my hometown, Anderson, South Carolina, where I grew up, she won. She was I didn't know her. She was a year younger than me and went to a different school. So we did not cross paths. Yeah. But nevertheless, that's pretty cool that this girl from this little town in South Carolina won it. And then goes on to play the role on Broadway. Not for long because it closes in October of 2008 after 595 performances. But it's one of those shows that, though it didn't run on Broadway that's not a despicable run, and in fact at the cost of shows then it probably recouped in that amount of time. I don't know that for sure, but probably but it's interesting. We're starting to see the intersection of the reality show and that's followed by Every Little Step and all of these, like finding the leads for Grease and that's
all
right.
of these big
and
reality
that's where we
shows
got what was her name
for Broadway.
What is her name that won the Grease? She's the one the Grease won.
I have no idea.
Laura, she was Cinderella on Broadway.
Laura Osnes?
Osnes. Yes, Laura Osnes. She won the Grease one, right?
I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure she did.
I just remember we're doing this on reality TV now. But then match that with then we get Glee and that all of these things magically coming together. Yeah. And, Legally Blonde is part of that. It's, it's
absolutely.
We're so hooked up with because this was a film property first. Can we exploit it in other markets in a way that, they weren't really doing with Wicked because Wicked wasn't really designed that way, but this is easily convertible and then can we do this is making lots of money. Oh my gosh, this is going so well. Look at this little tiny story that's selling? Can we do a reality show? Can we do this? And these things start to spiral, and it does bring forth, I think, a brand new, I don't know. I mean, it's a new generation of Broadway audience members, and it helps. It helps academia, because in 2008, when we're hit with the recession, the very first thing that we do to try to keep ourselves alive is open those BFAs in musical theater. Yeah. So, and this is the kind of stuff that fuels that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's another, it's a show that you just mentioned, UCF's production that just played this year, but it plays a lot.
It is very well represented, especially on college stages.
Absolutely. This show has hung around. So I don't know if it has toured since the original production until this production that's about to start touring. As of the time that we are recording, it has not yet started touring, but it is coming.
It's coming.
So I don't really have much to say. I don't have anything to say about the tour, because nothing's been announced other than, coming to a theater near you in 2026. But I do know that it's played community theaters, educational theaters. It is a hot property. Wasn't it on, let me confirm this, but wasn't it, I think it's pretty high on the list of most, the shows that are most licensed. Let's see, musicals.
Because it's relatively easy as far as costume is concerned. Like, it is very adaptable when you talk about doing this kind of show for the amount of budget that you have. You can do this on a small budget. You can do this on a big budget, and have robotic dogs, I guess. Yeah. But it doesn't need it. It's not set in a fantasy world. It's set at Harvard. You can buy some Harvard sweatshirts and have them shipped to you. Like, that's right. So,
and it feels contemporary, right? It feels contemporary.
And it's got that name recognition that you totally need.
Absolutely.
It's a great rollicking good time. You have a great time doing it. So it's a surefire moneymaker in many ways.
Yes. And it was, in 2025, one of the top 20 most produced shows in terms of licensing.
Still, 20 years later.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like, it's still, it still feels contemporary. It still feels, and it's still got that name recognition, and it's still, it's gonna keep doing what it's doing. And I think they hope that Mean Girls is gonna have that traction as well.
Mean Girls, it is so, they updated the book from the film, but it is still so, I feel like maybe that is gonna date it a little bit. Yeah. Not that they shouldn't have updated it. I don't mean to imply that, but it is so specific to time and place that it might feel dated in a way that I don't know that Legally Blonde does, because they don't get into social media. This was all pre-social media. Yeah. There's none of that. So it just feels very much like an experience that anyone could have at any moment in time.
They have gone back in, and I give them credit for this. They've gone back in and updated all of the references.
In Legally Blonde?
In Legally Blonde.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. So,
yeah, I mean, like, in songs and everything else. Like, you can buy the version that's a little bit more updated, that doesn't date it as much, which is good. But I think you're right with Mean Girls. Mean Girls also kind of tried to not do everything from the film, as I remember.
Yeah.
There were, things that they left out, which I don't think was a bad decision. But Legally Blonde, literally, like, everything is in there.
Yeah.
Everything and more. And it goes at a high octane pace in a way
That's a good point.
Like, I mean, there's not silence. And if there's silence, it's well planned. I mean, this is like music back to back to back to back to back. When you get to Mean Girls, you have a little bit of that. And then all of a sudden it pulls away and wants to do scenes. Well, and that is kind of slows the whole thing down. And so I wonder if this is like, we are used to filmic timing and things like that. And that doesn't really translate to the stage. And you need it to be that high octane, like, like it has to be music all the way through.
Well, and it's probably that's probably in part owed to where it fell in the spectrum of film to stage adaptations, because at that moment we didn't yet have creators had not yet given themselves the freedom to play around and say, well, we don't want it to be a scene by scene, which is something we've said about Beetlejuice and Death Becomes Her. We don't want it to be exactly. But when they first started this, maybe there was more of a pressure. The creators felt like, actually, we do need to just replicate this show on stage, the film on stage, And
I mean, yeah, but it happens so quick.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have any of the time, like...
lag time.
But they do so much. I mean, that's why all the songs are 7 minutes long.
Right.
But it's like there's so much there to kind of get done, and it's a great show.
It's really fun. I completely agree. It's completely fun. So when it comes to your town, if not in 2026, look for it. I'm sure in 2027. Go see it. You're sure to love it.
Yeah.
That'll do it for this episode of the Dr. Broadway podcast. Tune in for our next episode when we'll be discussing The Who's Tommy. Until then, connect with us via email at hello@drbroadway.com or on Instagram, YouTube, or TikTok at Dr. Bway Podcast.